Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahmavidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Namo Gurubhyaha. So we were on the 11th Vakya of the 8th Brahmanam in the 3rd chapter, where Gargi is questioning Yajnavalkya, and the question is about Akasha and Aksharam. So Aksharam only now Yajnavalkya is describing Aksharam Brahma. First the Aksharam was said as that which is not a substance, which does not have any qualities. It is not a quality in itself. Like that, negatively it was said what it is not. By negating everything, what you have to understand is it is of the very nature of the subject itself. It is the conscious being who is the self of the subject. But then again, this same Aksharam was also presented as the Prashasta, as the ruler. Whether this Aksharam, which is present, can it be Pradhana, the Achetana Pradhana of the Sankhya? There can be a doubt like that. That's how Bhashyakara gives introduction here. Agner Dahana Prakashakatvavate Swabhavikam Asya Prashastritvam Achetanasya Eva Ityataha Aha. So, the Prashastritvam, the nature of being the ruler or the rulership, is the nature of the Pradhana or Prakriti, according to the Sankhyas. Like even the fire has as its very nature heat and light, correct? So can it be like that? Means no. That's why this is said. Okay, what is said? That this Akshara is the one which can never be seen, but it is the seer. It can never be heard, but it is the hearer. In fact, there is nothing other than this Akshara, which is the seer, which is the hearer, which is the thinker, which is the cognizer, like that. Both ways it is said here to make sure that Akshara, this Brahman, is the consciousness, which is the one which makes thinking possible, seeing possible, hearing possible. All these conscious activities, Brahman is the one who makes it possible. That's why it is the seer, it is the hearer, it is the thinker. There is no other hearer, seer, thinker, because without Brahman as consciousness being there, none of these activities can take place. So this is a conscious principle only. There in the consciousness only, but Upadhi, that is the idea. So that is presented here. In fact, I think we already saw the Vakya. And this Akshara, which is the Prashasta, is the one which pervades even the Akasha. Okay, here the Akasha is not the regular sky, but it is the one in which even the Sutra is there. Okay, or the Antaryami becomes Antaryami because of the Akasha. Akasha being the Upadhi for Ishvara, this is the Maya, you can say. Okay, so that itself is pervaded by this Brahman or Aksharam only. Like this is what is taught here. Bhashyakara is saying, Etad Aksharam Gargi Adrishtam Na Kenachit Drishtam. So this Aksharam Gargi is not seen, adrishtam, means it cannot be seen by anybody or anything. Na kenachit drishtam, by no entity it is seen. Why? Avishayatva, because it is not a vishaya of seeing, it is not an object of sight. This Brahman can be an object of sight. In fact, some people say that in deep meditation, I saw this, I saw that, etc. Whatever you see is not this. Okay, that much you have to be very clear. You may be seeing anything, but it is not Brahman. Kenachid na drishtam, because it is avishaya, it is not an object of sight. Swayam tu drashtru, but by itself it is the seer. Why? Drishupatvat, because of the very nature of the seeing. So it is of the nature of seeing, means it is consciousness itself. It is conscious principle. So it is of the nature of seeing. It is the seer. It's the very nature of the seer, we have to say, or the self of the seer. Similarly, what tatha ashrutam, shrotra avishayatva. So it cannot be heard because it is not an object of hearing also. But swayam shrotra, by itself it is the hearer. Why? Because shruti swarupatvat, because it is of the very nature of hearing as the consciousness. Then tatha amatam, it cannot be thought of. Why? Manasaha avishayatva, because it is not an object of your mind also. But swayam mantra, by itself it is the thinker. Why? Mati swarupatva, because it is of the very nature of thinking. Then tatha avijñātam, similarly it cannot be known or cognized. Why? Buddhehe avishayatva, because it is not an object of your intellect also, of your buddhi. It is not an object of any cognition. But swayam vijñātra, by itself it is the knower. Why? Vijñāna swarupatva, because of this, its very nature is of knowing, of knowledge. Kincha na anyat ataha asmad aksharat asti. So, because of this, there is nothing other than this akshara. Other than this akshara, there is nothing. But everything is this akshara only. So, ataha anyat na asti. From this akshara, there is nothing which is other than this akshara. So that is said here now. Nasti kinchit drashtri. So na anyad ataha asti. You can see here. Drashtri. This is what Bhashyakara is commenting here. Nasti kinchit drashtri. So there is no other seer. Darshana kriya kartri. Drashtri means darshana kriya kartri, the one who is doing the act of seeing. Etadeva aksharam darshana kriya kartri sarvatra. So everywhere, wherever sight happens as a phenomenon, this akshara, because it is there is only one conscious principle which is lighting up all sight. Okay. Tatha avijñātam, sorry. Tatha na anyad ataha shrotra asti. So the anyad ataha asti shrotra. Again, other than this aksharam brahma, there is no other hearer. Tadeva aksharam shrotra sarvatra. So this aksharam brahma itself is the hearer everywhere. Wherever hearing as a phenomenon takes place, the hearer there is that Brahman, because the same consciousness is the one which lights up every hearing also. Every sound you hear, everything you hear, everything everybody hears is lighted up by the same consciousness, which is this Aksharam Brahma. So everywhere this Aksharam Brahma alone is there. Further, na anyad ataha asti mantra. So other than this Aksharam Brahma, there is no other thinker also. Tadeva Aksharam mantra sarvatra sarva manodvarena. So this Aksharam Brahma alone is the thinker everywhere, means through all the minds. Bhashyakara adds here sarva manodvarena, through all the minds. wherever mind is there, that mind is lighted up by this consciousness only. There is only one consciousness which lights up all the minds. Similarly, na anyad ataha asti vijñātru. So other than this Aksharam Brahma, there is no other knower. Vijñātru means he says Vijñāna Kriya Kartri. So the one who does the act of cognizing. Tadeva Aksharam Sarva Buddhi Dvarena Vijñāna Kriya Kartri. So this same Aksharam Brahma alone is the one who cognizes in every cognition. Aksharam Brahma is the cognizer through all the buddhis. In fact, this Dakshinamurti Stotram also, there is an analogy, correct? Nana Chidra Ghato Darastita Maha Deepa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam Yasya Tu Chakshura Karanadvara Bahispandate Janamiti Tameva Bhantam Anubhatyetat Samastam Jagat Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So the same concept is talked about there. Nana Chidra Ghatodara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaram. So you can think, how can one consciousness light up everywhere? Means it is like one big deepa is there in a big, it has many holes. So each hole is like one mind or one sense organ or whatever, correct? Now, when you just look at it, you may think that so many lights are coming out, correct? Each light is coming out of each hole means, but there is only one deepa there. There is only one consciousness which is lighting up all these upadhis. Each and every mind, every buddhi, every sense organ, all of these things are nothing but only upadhis. They are all only conditioning factors. And there is only one consciousness which is lighting up all these things, like even one lamp which looks like many, coming out through different holes in a pot, but it is really only one deepa, Mahadeepa. Like that, here also it is the same thing we have to understand. So etasminnu khalu akshare gargi akashaha otascha protascheti. So in this Aksharam Brahma only, Akasha also is pervaded by this Aksharam Brahma only. It is the basis for the very Akasha, which is the first Upadhi we have to say. It is the Ishvara Upadhi, this Akasha. So that also is pervaded by this Aksharam only. So Yadeva Sakshad Aparokshad Brahma Ya Atma Sarva Ashanayadi Samsara Dharma Yasmin Akasha Otascha Protascha Yesha Parakashta Yesha Paragatihi. So this Brahman, which is again Sakshad Aparokshad Brahma, I have told you, Brahman which is known without any intermediary thing like a sense organ or mind, and which is Mukhyam Brahma, which is directly known, and which is the self in all the beings, and which transcends all the limitations of a life of becoming, like eating, drinking, etc. It is free from all these samsara dharmas, and which pervades even Akasha, the upadhi of Ishvara. Okay, Yasmin Akashaha Otascha Protascha. Akasha itself has as its basis this Aksharam Brahma. That alone is Parakashta. So, Sa Kashta, Sa Paragatihi, like that it comes in the Kathopanishad also. Purushanna Param Sa Kashta, Sa Paragatihi. I think Bhashyakara is quoting that only here. So, he is linking this Brahman to your Parama Purusharthan. Okay, Brahman is that. How does it matter to me? Means, hey, it is yourself. It is the ultimate thing which you can reach. It has to be your ultimate goal to understand that you are Brahman, correct? So finally, anyway, you have to connect it with yourself. Then only it makes sense to oneself, correct? It has to be connected to your moksha purushartha. That's what Bhashyakara does here. So all this is fine, but what about me means it is your goal now, in fact. That limitless is you. That's what you have to understand. That is the final goal. That is the final gati. That is where you want to go. Go means in terms of knowledge alone. You are not really going anywhere. Correct? So that is Brahma. Etat Param Brahma. This is the Param Brahma. That they will translate as Supreme Brahman. Okay, let it Supreme Brahman, Ultimate Brahman, whatever it is. So etat prithivyadehe akashantasya satyasya satyam. So this Brahman was introduced as satyasya satyam. Satya, one satya is the prana. Prana means the sutratma. And this is the satya of that satya also. Like that satyasya satyam. And satyam itself was presented as sat tyat, like that. Satcha tyat cha. Means sat and tyat means what? That which is tangible, that which is intangible. The entire Srishti can be categorized as tangible and intangible, and this is the truth both tangible and intangible. Okay, we can say like that. So this is the Satyasya Satyam, that is this Brahman. So why Bhashyakara is connecting like this is because the subject matter is the same. Understand that. In the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, all over Brahman alone is the subject matter. Whatever Brahman was presented as Satyasya Satyam only is being presented here as the Aksharam Brahma also. It's not something different. So Bhashyakara wants to show the continuity. So that's why he is actually referring back to this Satyasya Satyam. It's very important to understand this. Okay, continuing. Saho Vacha. Okay, after this, Gargi is now very clear. Nobody defeat Yajnavalkya. So she is saying to all the Brahmanas, she is saying, Saho Vacha Brahmana Bhagavantaha Adeva Manyedvam Yasman Namaskareణ Muchyedvam Navai Jatu Yushmakam Imam Kaschid Brahmodyam Jeteti Tatoha Vachaknavi Upararama. So this Gargi, he then addresses all the Brahmanas. Hey Brahmanaha, Bhagavantaha, you are all great. Okay, listen to me now. What? Tadeva Bahumanyedvam. Think that it is something great for you. What does that means? Yad Asman Namaskarayana Muchyedvam. That you can escape from this Yajnavalkya by doing a Namaskara to him. That means don't ever argue or debate with him. You cannot defeat him at all. So you have to consider it as your fortune, as your bhagyam, that you can do namaskara to this Yajnavalkya and escape. Don't take any panga with Yajnavalkya. So that's what she is saying. So namaskara navai jatu yushmakam imam aschid brahmodyam jeteti. So with reference to this subject matter of Brahman, so for describing this Brahman or revealing this Brahman, nobody is equal to this Yajnavalkya. None of you can even think of defeating him. So don't even attempt that. That's what she is saying. And after saying that, she kept silent. So she is now satisfied that Yajnavalkya deserves all those cows. Okay, so that is the thing. Let us quickly see the Bhashya. Saho vacha, he Brahmanaha Bhagavantaha Shrinuta Madiyam Vachaha. So, he Brahmanaha Bhagavantaha, listen to me. Okay, you are all great people. Listen to my words. Tadeva Bahumanyedhvam Kim Tat. So, think that this is your good fortune. What does that means? Yad Asmad Yajnavalkyat Namaskarena Muchyedhvam. By doing Namaskara, you can escape. Okay. So Bhashyakara, Asmai Namaskaram Kritva Tadeva Bahumanyadhvam Nityarthaha. So doing Namaskara to this Yajnavalkya itself, you should take it as your good fortune. Don't argue or don't debate with him. Jayaha tu asya manasapi na shamsaniyaha. So do not even hope or do not even think that you can defeat this Yajnavalkya. Don't any thought. Okay. Kimuta karyata. Then what? What to talk about actually doing? Okay, so you cannot even think of defeating him. Then what to talk about actually going and defeating him in a debate? So that's impossible. Okay, Kasmat Navai Yushmakam Madhye Jatu Kadachidapi Yam Yakyavalkyam Brahmodyam Pratijeta. Why? Because amongst there is not even one person who can defeat this Yajnavalkya in this in revealing this Brahman. Okay, with reference to that, in that context, none of you can defeat Yajnavalkya. Prashnau chain Mahyam Vakshyati Navai Jeta Bhavita Purvameva Maya Pratignatam. So if my questions, if he answers, I already told, correct? If he answers my questions, or if he will answer my questions, no, none of you can defeat him. Like that, I already told in the beginning. So Purvameva Maya Pratignatam. That's how I started, in fact. Now also the same thing I am saying. Adyapi Mama Ayameva Nischaya. My Nischaya now, my considered opinion or my determination. I have determined now that it is the same now. None of you can defeat this Yajnavalkya. Brahmodyam prati etat tulyaha na kaschid vidyate iti. So there is none of you who is equal to him with reference to in this subject matter of Brahman. Tataha vachak navi upararama. After that, fell silent. Okay. So now Bhashyakara, this actually is a very important paragraph where he is taking up some other opinions of other, most probably Bhartru Prapancha, and he is giving some clarity. So atra antaryami brahmane etaduktam. So in the antaryami brahmana, before we saw, this was said. What was said? Yam prithvi na veda, yam sarvani bhutani na viduhu iti cha. So that which is not known by Prithvi Devata, in fact, that which is not known by any of the beings, that Antaryami is not known. So Yam Antaryaminam Viduhu, this Antaryami is not known by any of them. Yecha na Viduhu, Yecha tad Aksharam Darshanadi Kriya Kartam Chetana Dhatuhu. Also, it was said that this Aksharam Brahma, who is the one who is doing all the darshanadi kriya, correct? Darshana, Shrana, Manana, Vijnanam, everything, all these kriyas are done by this conscious being, this Aksharam Brahma alone. This Aksharam also was talked about. So both the Antaryami was presented in the Antaryami Brahmanam. Here the Aksharam Brahma we talk about. These two are there. Okay, Yacha means Chakarat, and we have to understand. Okay. Up to this is Antaryami, and then this Aksharam Brahma, which is the one which is doing all the Darshanadi Kriya, and which is the consciousness principle or awareness in each and every being. Now these two are there. Kastu Esham Visheshaha. Amongst these two, what is the difference or what is the Vishesha? And what is the uniform or what is same? Kimva Samanyam. Or they are both the same? Are they different or are they same? Okay. Now that has to be understood. Now, with reference to this, different people are saying different things. That's what Bhashyakara is going to say here. Tatra kechid achakshate. So, some people have their opinions. They opine. What is their opinion? Parasya mahasamudrasthaniyasya brahma aksharasya aprachalita swarupasya. So, this Brahman, Aksharam Brahman, is considered like the Mahasamudra, the great ocean. And when the ocean is still, okay, the still waters, no activity, nothing, still waters, runs deep, we say, right? Anyway, so it is still, with no waves, nothing. Aprachalita Swarupasya. That is the Brahman, Aksharam Brahma. But when there is some chalana, some activity there, correct? Some waves, something is happening. Means Ishat Prachalita Avastha Antaryami. So where some activity, that Brahman itself has some activity, vibrates, let us say. Okay. Some vibration is there, some small vibration. Ishat Prachalita means what? Ishat means little bit only, not much. Then it is Antaryami. Okay. Then Atyanta Prachalita Avastha Kshetrajnaha. When there is lot of vibration, then it becomes the jiva. In fact, the Kshetrajnaha here is the one who has the identity with the body mind sense complex, and one who becomes the knower of one's own body mind sense complex and even the world, etc. So the Kshetrajnaha. So like this they are giving the explanation. Okay. Yaha tam na veda antaryaminam tatha anyaha panchavasthaha parikalpayanti. So these kshetrajnaha, when we say the jivas are not antaryami. They do not know the Aksharam Brahma also. Yaha tanna veda antaryaminam. So when it was said here, okay, yecha na viduhu, yam antaryaminam na viduhu and all that, what is talked about is all the jivas, the kshetrajnaha. They do not know the antaryami. Okay, because they have atyanta prachalita means what? They have high vibration or disturbance. That itself they are not able to know. Then you have to still yourself. Okay, these are all Purva Paksha. Understand that. So this is one way of presenting. People are presenting like this. The difference between Brahman, Antaryami, and a regular Kshetrajna Jiva. Okay. Then others have other views. What is that? Tata Anyaha Panchavasthaha Parikalpayanti. 5 more states. Now here we talked about 3, correct? Still little bit activity Antaryami, lot of activity is Kshetrajna Jiva. Then others also imagine 5 more states like this, okay, to account for everything. So tata ashtavastha brahmanaha bhavanti iti vadanti. So for the same Brahman, there are 8 different states. That's what they propose. Okay. Then anye aksharasya shaktayaha yeta iti vadanti. Some others say all the whatever is happening here, correct? It is all the power of this akshara. Akshara has this power to know everything, or even whatever. There is some power in every being, correct? Even that power is all Akshara's power only, Brahman's power. Ananta Shakti Mad Aksharam iti, because it is Ananta Shakti, it has limitless power. Therefore, all the Shakti, wherever you have some Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, all Shaktis are this Brahman Shakti alone. Like this also some people say. They literally say it is Brahman Shakti. Understand that. Then in all these cases, there will be Advaita Hani. That's what you have to understand. You cannot talk about Advaita anymore. And it will also go against some Vedic statements. Explicit statements are there, which negates that Brahman has Shakti or Brahman actually has any Kriya and all that. Correct? It is Nishkriyam. So there cannot be any vibration or anything in Brahman. Okay, that's what Bhashyakara wants to point out. But before that, he is presenting. These are all the views which are there. So Ananta Shakti Aksharam iti. Anye tu aksharasya vikaraha iti. So others say that everything we see here in the world, the subjects and objects, everything in fact, it's all the modification of Brahman. Okay. Now these are all different views which are there. In fact, these views fall. These views actually take care of all the different opinions which are there, whether it is Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, they all fall under one of these categories, whatever Bhashyakara has presented here. So then Bhashyakara now gives his Siddhanta by negating all these things. So he says Avastha Shakti. No, this is dual case. That's why it is Avastha Shakti. Tavan Nopapadyete. This is also dual case ending. So this Avastha Shakti, etc. are not tenable, he says. Why? Because it cannot have any particular state. Every state has been negated for this Brahman. Okay, Aksharasya Ashanayadi Samsara Dharma Atitatva Shrute. So the Akshara is beyond all these states and it doesn't have any power also. In fact, it is beyond all the samsara dharmas like hunger, thirst, etc. also. So all these things have been negated. So it cannot have any particular, you cannot say whether there are 3 states, 8 states, etc. None of these states are really Brahman state. Understand that it is stateless, really speaking. Nahi ashanayadi atitatvam, ashanayadi dharmavat avasthavatvam cha ekasya yugapad upapadyate. So Bhashyakara explains it. He says, same Brahman you cannot say is, it transcends or it does not have any hunger, thirst, etc. And also say that it is there in a state where hunger and thirst are there. Okay. It has a state in which it has hunger and thirst. Same Brahman. It's possible. Same Brahman cannot be having contradictory qualities. So ekasya yugapad upapadyate. At the same time, for the same entity, you cannot have contradictory qualities. So the avastha he has negated. Similarly, tatha shakti matvam also, because there are vakyas which deny any shakti in Brahman. So Brahman does not have shakti and also say that Brahman has shakti at the same time. That also is contradictory. Then vikara avayavatve cha doshaha pradarshitaascha chaturthe. Even the chaturthe here means second chapter. When Bhashyakara says chaturtha, I think in the Shatapatha Brahmana there are already 2 chapters are there. So when the commentary starts, correct, Ushava Ashwasya, like that is the first Brahmana. That's in the 3rd chapter. Although we study it as the first chapter of Brhadaranyaka, for Bhashyakara it is 3rd chapter, and whatever we say as second is the Chaturtha. So in the 2nd chapter only, this Vikara, etc. In fact, there was a big Bhashya. If you remember that Vispulinga, Agnehe Vispulinga, etc. There also there was a huge Bhashya where we discussed how there cannot be any modification of Brahman or Brahman cannot have any parts, etc. All these things we discussed in detail. It has been shown that all these views are not tenable. Already I have shown it. Therefore, what? Tasmat, etaha, asatyaha, sarvaha, kalpanaha. So all these imaginations are all not true. They are not tenable. These things have been dismissed already. But all these people have these views. But what is the correct view? And again, what is the difference between Antaryami and Brahman? How are we going to explain that? That is where this Bhashya is very important. Particularly this portion, we will see that. So Kastarhi Bedaha Yesham. So then what is the difference between Antaryami and Aksharam Brahma? He says the difference is purely Upadhi Kritaha iti Brumaha. It's all only due to conditioning factor. It is all Upadhi Krita. Whether there is Ishvara, whether there is Jiva, whether there is Brahman, it is all from this Nirupadha. The others are all based on Upadhi. Therefore, the entity is only one. There is only one entity. It is all only looking at the same thing from different standpoints. Swataha yesham bedaha. So there is really no beda between Ishvara, Jiva, Brahman. All this beda and all we can even talk about beda, abeda, etc. We can only talk about from the standpoint of Upadhi. By itself, if you see, you can neither talk about any difference nor indifference, nothing. There is no second thing to even talk about the difference, correct? So, na swataha yesham bedaha abedaha va, Bhashyakara says. So, by itself, you cannot say it is they are either different or same, etc. Saindava Ghanavate, Prajnana Ghana Ekarasa Swabhavya. So the Chaitanya is homogeneous. It is a partless homogeneous entity. There is no second thing, in fact. So what to talk about whether it is different, indifferent, etc., non-difference, etc., from its own standpoint, none of these things make any sense. The Paramarthika Satyam is that Brahman is all. In fact, you can add Brahman is I am Brahma. Correct? Aham Brahma Asmi, you can say. I am there as this Brahman. Nothing else you can say. Nothing more than that. There is no second thing, in fact. And so Bhashya giving some quotations from Brhadaranyaka itself now and then from Mundaka also. So he gives quotations for this. What? So there is nothing other than this. Apurva, Anaparam, Anantaram, Abhahyam. These things are all said in the fifth Brahmana of the second chapter. So Apurvam, Anaparam, Anantaram, Abhahyam means what? There is nothing before, nothing after, nothing inside, nothing outside. That Brahman is free from all kinds of measures, all kinds of measurements or units of measure, etc. That is what is, in fact, is spatially it transcends the space itself. Okay. And then this I am Atma, Brahma, this Atma is Brahman, it is nothing other than this Brahman. Itisha Shrutehe. Then further what? Sabahya Bhyantaraha hi Ajaha. So this Brahman which is unborn, it is both inside, outside, everywhere. Correct? Saha Sabahya Abhyantaraha. And it is unborn and it is there everywhere. This is Mundaka Shruti. It is Atharvane. So like this, there are many Shrutis are there. Therefore, what Smat Nirupadhigasya Atmanaha Nirupakhyatvat Nirvisheshatvat Ekatvatcha. So this Nirupadhika Atma, the Atma without any Upadhi, when you look at it, it cannot be indicated by anything, correct? Any word or anything. It is devoid of all Visheshas, all qualifications. It is one. And the only way you can point out is what? Neti Neti. By negating all objects, you have to reveal this as the very nature of the subject. So that's what was done also in the second chapter. So Neti Neti iti Vyapadeshaha Bhavati Ekatvat, because it is one, it cannot be the meaning of any one particular word, etc. It does not have any qualities. It cannot be categorized as anything which we know. Therefore, the only way it is taught is through negation, Neti Neti. So that is the Nirupadhika Brahma, Aksharam Brahma. Then what? What is the Jiva? So here Bhashyakara very clearly says, Avidya, Kama, Karma, Vishishta, Karya, Karana, Upadhihi, Atma, the same Atma, same Brahman, but from the standpoint of ignorance, Avidya. And Avidya, once you don't know yourself as the limitless, you take yourself as a wanting person. Once you are a wanting person, you will have desires, correct? You have so many wants, likes, dislikes. And once you have desires, you have to do something to fulfill your desires. Things are all like, they just pop up in a certain sequence. Avidya, Kama, Karma, Vishishta, Karya, Karana, Upadhihi. So this Avidya, Kama, Karma, all these things are there. And in the Upadhi, it is there. And the Upadhi itself is Karya, Karana, Sanghata. The Karana is the Antakarana and all sense organs. Karya is the physical body. So with this as the Upadhi, Atma becomes Samsari Jivaha Uchyate. The same Brahman is known as Samsari Jiva. Entity is only one. Understand that. Then with another Upadhi, same Brahman becomes Ishvara. What is that? Nitya Niratishaya Jnana Shakti Upadhihi Atma. This is the Maya Upadhi we say. Correct? Nitya Niratishaya means what? Eternal and limitless, basically incomparable. Niratishaya. Jnana, means knowledge, all knowledge. Jnana Shakti Upadihi. So the Upadi which has all knowledge means self-knowledge also is included. That's why Ishvara, the same avidya becomes Maya for Ishvara because Ishvara is not having any ajnana. Ishvara cannot have any ajnana because it is like the magician. For the magician, when he sees the magic, doesn't take it as anything real or anything. Rather, he knows exactly what is there in the magic. The magic is there only for others, those who do not know about that. So, Ishvara, for Ishvara, it is Maya, it is all knowledge. In that all knowledge, self-knowledge also is included. And that is the Antaryami Ishvara. From that Upadhi, that Maya Upadhi, through the Maya Upadhi, if we see Nitya Niratishaya Jnana Shakti Upadhihi, the Atma is Antaryami Ishvaraha Uchyate. So from this is the only way you can present and make sense of all the Upanishad Vakyas. Understand that. There is no other way. So otherwise, if you hold on to any one particular view, like Brahman is having avastha, so many different avasthas, or Brahman is having Shakti, or Brahman modifies and becomes something and all that, then all these many vakyas you will contradict. You cannot account for all the vakyas properly. The only way you can reconcile seemingly contradictory Upanishad vakyas is to understand that the Bheda is Upadhikrita. Then everything is accounted for easily. That's what Bhashyakara is pointing here. So he says, Ishvaraha uchite sayev nirupadihi kevalaha shuddha svena swabhavena aksharam para uchite. So all three he is presenting here beautifully. So with the avidya kama karma vishishta karya karana upadhi, atma is samsari jiva. Nitya niratishaya jnana shakti upadhi, atma is antaryami ishvara. And without any upadhi, from its own standpoint, it is kevalaha. It alone is there. It is shuddha. Shuddha means it is not having any connection with anything else. Correct? It can never be. It can never come into contact with anything second. Then only it can become impure. It is always pure that way. And svena swabhavena, by its very nature, this aksharam is indeclinable. It never changes. In fact, and that is the para uchyate. That is the param brahma. But all three are only one entity from different standpoints. Understand that. There is only one entity, there is only one consciousness. That same consciousness without any upadhi is Param Brahma. With Maya upadhi, with all knowledge as the upadhi, correct? Unlimited, eternal, all knowledge, then it is Ishvara. The ignorance, desires, karma, activities through this body, mind, sense complex means the entity is only one. Therefore, what? Similarly, what? Hiranya Garbha, Avyakrita, Devata, Jati, Pinda, Manushya, Tiryak, Pretadi, Karyakarana Upadibihi, Vishishtaha, Tadakhyaha, Tadrupaha, Bhavati. So not only your own body mind sense complex, Bhashyakara now says, starting from Hiranya Garbha onwards, first Prathama Jaha, okay, Prajapati, Hiranyagarbha, starting from there up to Brahmadi Stamba Paryantam, we say, correct? Up to a grass. There are so many different types of beings. Hiranyagarbha, Avyakrita also, undifferentiated. Devata Jati, Pindam. Then Devatas, different Devatas are also there. Their bodies are there. Then human beings, Manushya, Tiryak means all animals. Animals grow horizontally, correct? So they are called Tiryak. Then Pretadi, even Preta Sharira and all we talk about. Once you die, you take a Preta Sharira because you have to go somewhere, either Naraka or Swarga. For that, the Preta Sharira is required. With that Sharira only you can travel Naraka. So even that Preta Sharira is, in fact, all our Antyashti. After somebody dies, the 13 days or whatever, the 11 days, this karma we do, it is all only to create a proper pressure so Jiva can travel somewhere. So, this Pretadi Karya Karana Upadi Bihi Vishishtaha, the same Atma, same Aksharam Brahma, are conditioned by all these different bodies with their own sense, etc. So, these different bodies with their sense organs are all different conditioning factors. The same Atma is conditioned by all these things. And then it becomes in that form. Tadakya tadrupaha bhavati. So it gets a particular name, it gets a particular form, and it is looked upon as a particular being. But it is all only upadhi. So tatha, there jati, tannai jati. Because the Upanishad also uses contradictory terminologies. Tad ejati, tan nejati. It goes, it does not go. How are you going to explain that? Only through Upadhi Veda we can explain all these contradictions. And further it is said, it is your own Atma. Yeshata Atma, Yesha Sarva Bhutantaratma, Yesha Sarveshu Bhuteshu Gudaha. It is hidden in all. It is the self of all. It is yourself. Tattvamasi, that Jagat Karanam Brahma is you. How are you going to reconcile and arrive at an identity? Because Tattvamasi is an equation. Ahameva idam sarvam. Chandogya. I am all this. Whatever is there here. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma also is there in Chandogya. Ahameva idam sarvam. I am the one who is Atmaeva idam sarvam. Atma alone is all that is there here. In Brhadaranyaka itself, na anyaha ataha asti drashta, that was said here. There is no other seer other than this Aksharam Brahma. Ityadi Shrutayaha na virudhyante. Only if you take the above view that the Veda are all Upadhikrita, you can reconcile all the different Upanishad Vakyas, the Samanvaya. You can, otherwise, there is no way of doing Samanvaya. You have to use some absurd grammatical gymnastics you have to do. So Nirgunam means they say Nirheya Gunam. Means it does not have any guna which has to be given up, means what any bad qualities it does not have, it seems. Nirguna means. Okay, for one Nirguna you can do that, but what about so many other negations which are there? So I don't know how anybody else can explanation. None of the other explanations will make sense. That's what Bhashyakara himself he says here. Okay, so only by saying it is all Upadhikrita Bedha, all these different Vakyas will not contradict one another. Otherwise, there will be contradictions galore, in fact. It will be very difficult to explain. But he says that kalpanantareshu yetaha shrutayaha na gachanti. Imagine something else. All these shrutis you cannot reconcile. They will not go anywhere, in fact. Okay. Therefore, what? Tasmat upadhi bede naiva yesham vedaha na anyatha. Therefore, all these contradictory statements, these differences, everything is only due to upadhi beda and not due to anything else. And in fact, all these only want you to understand that there is Brahman alone. Okay, ekameva advitiyam iti avadharanat sarva Upanishads. So in all the Upanishads, what the Upanishad really wants to teach you is ekameva advitiyam Brahma. This Brahman alone is there. It is one, only one without a second. And that Brahman is yourself. It's not separate from you. And that is what is ascertained without any doubt in the Upanishads. All the differences are only due to conditioning factors, due to upadhi. This is what we have to understand. So there is only one entity, one vastu really, which is appearing as Jiva, Ishvara, as Hiranyagarbha, as animals, as plants, whatever it is. or even rocks and all that. Really speaking, there is nothing achetana. In fact, everything is a manifestation of the consciousness only. That's what one has to understand. So with this Ashtamam Brahmanam also we have finished. There is one more Navamam Brahmanam. Very interesting this also. With this we will be finishing the third chapter. And then we will go into the fourth chapter also, which is again a very, very important chapter. So today I think we are completing 175th class. I don't know, another 150 classes will be there, I think, nearly, because there are, but fifth and sixth chapter we can go faster. So hopefully we'll have around 300 plus classes, but with that we should be able to finish. Okay. Anyway, so Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ధన్యవాదాలు.